the I guess the moment that provoked me to want to do those was getting a series of half a dozen human abduction stories that were sent to me when I was living in Philadelphia. And people did illustrations. And sometimes if somebody sends a letter, you don't understand. But if they will draw, you begin to see. And one of the women, Linda Porter, she was by nature an illustrator and an artist. And so when she sent me her story of dealing with resurrection technology, grays, praying mantises, with such a keen mind and tremendously profound articulation of what she understood. And then I get half a dozen more, all within a tiny short period of time. It's odd how all of this happens.
Right.
It was the numbers, the drawings, and the profoundness of those half a dozen people that made me want to do Glimpses of Other Realities that became the 2-volume work, of which this big section is in volume 2 about souls of light, alien beings and souls of light. And Linda Porter did not like what happened to her. I remember the first time I met her, I drove a long way to meet her. And we sat up for hours in a motel room, which was halfway between where she lived, where I was. And I've done that several times, that it's hard and you don't know what's going to happen, but they've always ended up when you're with somebody face to face. It's better than any letter and any phone call. And that was when I recorded a whole huge volume of her talking to me. And at one point, which comes to the heart of the so-called resurrection technology, which I'll explain, she was describing how a praying mantis seemed to be in charge, and that he was so scary to look at, but that she got a sense of profound sadness. And the profound sadness that seemed to emanate from this 8-foot-tall praying mantis diluted her fear. Because in the telepathic download into her, not only did she feel profound sadness, she felt that he was as old as this solar system. Could there be cyborgs? Could there be organic intelligences that could be 4.6 billion years old? I don't know, but that's what she felt. And that he knew everything that there was possible to know about you, me, Earth, and life. And he is the one who shows her a oval-shaped, cylindrical, it's not a container, it would be more like if you're in a room, a large room, and then there is something that is more like another room in the middle of the room, but it was round. So we're not talking about anything small. And the praying mantis sort of directs her attention, all of the sparkling light, all kinds of light. She says it was like a million little fireflies inside of this round structure. And the praying mantis is standing next to it, and the words that come into her head from him telepathically. This is where we do translation into the light, quote unquote. We do translation into the light. She didn't understand. She is escorted to another room, and this is now what she says is a gray scientist. not the big black lenses, which are, as far as I'm concerned, every one of them, they're technology. Those are technology, and they're either on clones or on robots or on something that would be in a cyborg category. They're not black eyes of a prime intelligence. They are lenses.
Okay.
And the lenses, as far as I know, would be perhaps thin, would cover the surface of an eye, and you'd have the ability to remove them, so that the gray that she is dealing with, you could see the eyes, somewhat reptilian. And he shows her what is going to happen to her by having a man laid out on some kind of like a table, and getting all of this telepathic shows where the man lived in Wisconsin or Michigan, forgotten, but somewhere in northern. He had heart disease, shows all this stuff coming really fast through her mind in pictures. And that he's going to die in his life in the United States, but they can't let that happen. Because in case after case after case of this, related to this technology, whatever the praying mantis, the Greys working with the praying mantis are about and doing, it's communicated to her very clearly. It is vital that the entity, and she gets the impression that entity, when she gets the download, is her soul. She says that the entity remain in the particular body container for a very specific period of time. In this man, we must take out his entity, and we are putting it into a younger clone of his body. And here are these tubes that have light at the top and the bottom. And she sees various humanoids in these, and one of them is, her attention is directed by the gray being that here is this man on the table, but about 10 years younger, looking pink and white and fresh inside of this tube. And then the gray being has her in some form come right to the table. And she said the gray being took its hand and just seemed to motion down to the man's chest. That's all. And came up with she thought it was a full heart.
Huh.
No blood. She draws what she saw. Perfect heart. And he holds it up in front of her and says he will die from problems with his heart, and we cannot allow this. And so we are going to have his entity continue in life here. And she thought Australia, which nobody that knew him in the United States would ever meet him again, but he would be alive in Australia. And then the gray being does something else with its hands. And coming out of this man, she thought it was at 3 or 4 feet tall. And it's drawn, these are beautiful drawings in my book, Glimpses of Other Realities, of this yellow, orange, white, gold light. Those colors were all mixed in this light. And she was very specific that the light came, right here at the top of your spine where the neck comes onto the shoulder blades.
Yeah.
Right? She was very specific in saying right there, this light left him as a piece and moved across the room, and that the being had somehow, the man who was in the tube is now standing outside. And the light entered and went right down into the same place, entered from here. And then she watched this man come alive. And the gray being said, and this is what we are going to do for you, because you had rheumatic fever when you were a young teenager, and it has damaged your heart. And it is necessary that your entity remain in your body for a specific length of time, as we have showed you. And this is what we're going to do. Telling me that this, what I've just related to you, sitting in that motel room with my audio recorder running, I'm trying for the first time in my life, I had never encountered any retelling of anything like this. She suddenly extended her arms toward me, and she said, "Linda," and her voice broke. And through tears that wanted to sob, her trying to hold in and contain crying, and it has a certain quality to it. "Linda, tell me, whose hands, whose arms are these? Who watched? Who was on the table? Who was in the tube? Which one is me?" And then she cried for a long time. And at that particular moment, it was another one of those paradigm shifts. This is not an actress. This is a fellow human being who is intelligent, who is aware in detail of something that actually happened to her, that she doesn't fully understand, except that she is at least telling me that these were beings that communicated it was necessary that the soul remain in human containers for a certain length of time, and that they had the ability with technology to accomplish that because they could do rapid cycle cloning in those tubes. And they could do the rapid cycle cloning by simply taking cells from inside a mouth, or sperm, or eggs, or hair, or animals anywhere on the earth,